So we had somebody who come in with a question that they don't understand how the APC indicators influence coding. So of course they influence billing and revenue, but as a coder, why do they have to pay attention to them? And because on one hand, there's a lot of services that are bundled that have a status indicator of N, and on the other hand, their course instructs them to code them regardless of whether they're going to get a cost. So they wanted some clarification. So when we're looking at APCs, those are ambulatory payment classifications, and those are established by Medicare, and they are payment rates affiliated with your ASCs, your ambulatory surgical centers. And they deal with the OPPS, which is, I'll go into that in a minute too. So the ASC, you don't have to be, they're not Medicare providers, they're suppliers of surgical services, but they must accept Medicare and they have to be participating. They must have their own individual contract with Medicare. So they can be separate from a hospital. So if you want to move down, they can be separate from a hospital, freestanding facility, or they can be affiliated with a hospital. It used to be in the beginning when ASCs came out, you could not be affiliated with a hospital, but now they do allow hospital affiliation as well. So if you want to move that down, Boyd. And then the next thing that they talk about is the OPPS. Now you're going to hear, if you do any kind of billing or billing education, you hear a lot about the prospective payment systems. There's home healthcare prospective payment system, there's inpatient, there's skilled nursing, there's all sorts of prospective payment systems out there that Medicare has established. So OPPS is the outpatient prospective payment system. And that's how Medicare decides how much money a hospital or mental health facility. Now remember, we're talking about outpatient. So outpatient, still dealing with Medicare, it can still be at a hospital. So you got to keep that in mind there. A lot of people think hospitals only inpatient. Well, hospitals also have outpatient services. So that's how much are they going to get paid for those Medicare patients for the outpatient services that they provided. So they assign each HCPCS, each CPT code, a letter that's going to signify how it's going to be reimbursed. So then these status indicators is an indicator that helps determine things like their policy rules, like packaging or bundling. Now, when you hear packaging or bundling, we also think of things that are inclusive. So things that are all provided under the cost of one thing. So they're all bundled together, remember? And so they're paid under a single unit. And they asked about status indicator of N, which means that those items or services are already all packaged into that APC rate. They're paid under the outpatient payment prospective payment system, but the payment is going to be a single payment, and that way there's no separate payment for those separate services. So if you look up a HCPCS code or CPT code for these particular facilities that deal under this system, then if you see that N, you can say, well, it's not going to get paid, it's all bundled into the main one. So we're going to scroll down a little bit more. And so why does a coder have to pay attention to that? Well, the same as in a the same as in a physician's office, you're going to look at your NCCI edits, right? You're going to look and see, can I bill those two codes together? Are they inclusive? Do they need a modifier? Is there something I need to know about these two? The coder is going to do the same thing in this type of system as well. Those status indicators are going to tell you what can be submitted on that claim form. So under the OPPS, the surgical procedures that are performed in an ASC, they come under facility fee unless it's deemed not eligible. Well, why can you not bill something to Medicare at an ASC? So Medicare loves their formulas, and when you deal on the billing side, you see these formulas all the time, RVU plus the geographic index plus this multiplied by that. So they do a lot of these formulas. So they assign all these things a weight, and it's actually a percentage of what the hospital would get for those services, because it takes into account the administrative fees, the time, the nurses, the equipment, things like that, same as it does on a facility side. So these get paid a percentage when they're dealing with the ambulatory surgical center, a percentage of that same type of payment system. So they weight it. And then they have a conversion factor, which goes by your geographical area sometimes, or the type of facility or the type of qualifications they have. And that comes up with their ASC payment rate. So what can you not submit to an ASC? Something that's emergent and life-threatening. If it's emergent or life-threatening, you don't want to be at an ambulatory surgical center. You need to be at the hospital. You need to be at the ER, because they're better equipped for those type of procedures. Something that can't be performed in a physician's office, but you don't want to bring them to the hospital. So the surgery center is a good place to bring them. These are, of course, all elective procedures. Not to say it can't be an urgent procedure. It can't be emergent. So that's why those two are italicized to bring it out. It cannot be emergent. Emergent is life and death threatening. Urgent is, we deal in orthopedics. We have somebody who broke their arm, ruptured a tendon, something like that. They don't have to go to the hospital, but a surgery center might have better availability to get them in the next day or later that day or as soon as possible. Where the hospital, you got to deal with all the other providers that are using the hospital surgery services. So it may be a couple more days before the hospital can get you in, but a surgery center could get you in quicker. So it's an urgent procedure. Something that's not going to involve major blood loss or a prolonged time opening that patient up and dealing with it. You don't want to extend any of those circumstances that could cause infections, blood loss, oxygen rates, anything like that, because those services, they're not equipped for things like that. So most MAC carriers, most Medicare contractor carriers for your area are going to tell you which HCPCS code and CPT codes you can use. And they're going to say those supplies and all that stuff, they're all packaged into this payment, one payment. So you should not, most MAC carriers tell you, you should not be reporting those items that are already included. So up in the schedule we showed a little bit earlier, K1 said a non-pass-through drug and biological. So we're going to scroll down and see what the non-pass-through means. So what they're talking about is a non-pass-through is items that are carved out from that single payment. Whether it's typically you might use this, but sometimes people use this. That sometimes drug, that's going to be able to be billed. That it's not their standard equipment or supply or procedure. Sometimes you might have another one. So if you don't submit those, then they're not getting paid for those things. So what they say is you're leaving the money on the table. They want that money. So if they're not included, then you could be losing out on that reimbursement. When you're dealing with the ASCs, a lot of common coding errors that they have are people are coding, well, you see this in not just an ASC, but they might be coding from that surgical report header. What type of procedure did they do? Procedure 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's what you're billing. Where no, you need to read the body of the note. So a lot of surgical coders can make that mistake. They say, oh, they did an arthroscopic knee scope of the medial tendon. Well, okay, so that's what I'm coding. Well, once they read the note, they go, oh, wait, they did the ACL, the PCL, and the MCL. Well, that's something totally different then. So, but that didn't say that in the header. The header is usually their intended procedure, but that doesn't mean once they got in there, that's what they actually did. Submitting both an arthroscopic and an open procedure. And we know when something starts arthroscopically and they go, oh, wait, we need to get in here, and they open it, you no longer bill for that arthroscopic procedure. Now you have to bill for the open procedure. That's the more relevant procedure that happened during that surgery. This is carrier dependent, but there is an ASC modifier. So the SG, now Medicare doesn't require that you have to use the SG, but there are other carriers, and some of them are federal carriers that do require that SG modifier. not putting the 24 place of service. That's an incorrect place of service. 24 is the correct place of service. Some people still use 11 for an office. Well, it's a surgery center, it's not an office. Billing non-covered services as covered, and that's what we're looking at in this question, is those are non-covered services. If they have that N status indicator, that means that they're bundled and it's non-covered. But then of course, because these have separate Medicare contracts and specific Medicare contracts, when you're dealing with a Medicare patient, you cannot perform one of those services that are on the exclusion list that don't do these at an ASC. You cannot do it at an ASC. And if you do it, for some reason, you cannot bill that Medicare patient for the denial because you're under a contract. So in the Medicare claims processing manual, it is Chapter 14 deals all with ASCs. And 10.2, they say because those prices are based lower than a separately payable procedure, and because the comparison is made at that claim level, they go claim line by line, the facilities may not be paid appropriately if they unbundle those charges. The same as at a physician's office, you cannot unbundle your charges. The facility cannot unbundle them as well and report them as packaged. So some ASCs, some charges that you see come through an ASC are not necessarily an ASC charge. The physician who does the surgery, they are billing under their own tax ID and their own information. Purchase or rental of DMEs, prosthetic devices, and ambulance service that had to get them there or perhaps take them away from there, they're not billing. And anything furnished by an independent laboratory, of course, they're going to bill for their own. So those don't fall under those ASC charges. And any services that they're on the excluded list. So there's a link there for the federal regulations. That is how the code of all the federal regulations for an ASC. So if you deal with the ASC surgery, this might be an area that you want to look at. But if that ASC bills that code, that is considered to be part of another code. You're going to see this for any services that are outpatient, that it's billed. Only the most comprehensive code is going to be covered. So I understand the question was if they learn that you should bill them. Now remember, we talk about that you should bill everything that you do because it is statistical. However, if it's not going to get paid and you're continually billing things that are bundled, that's also a red flag to these auditors. That we've been talking about a couple of these slides now about this auditing and your fraud. If you're continually billing things that are bundled, they're going to start to send you letters and go, wait a minute, those are bundled. Please don't do that. And if you continue to do it, then they're going to start to audit your records. That's where you're going to get some of those MAC auditors coming in and starting to review your medical records. So a course may tell you should do it. You should then go back to your compliance manager, your compliance manual in the ASC, and see what they want you to do, because they're the ones coming up with the rules for billing for their facility. So just because you can bill it doesn't always, just because they did it, we got to make sure it's not bundled into another procedure first. So.
Thank you.
Do you need more medical certification and business training? Learn more at www.cco.us.